Hello, it's Eamon O'Brien here, and I'd like to say hello to all our friends in Belfast. I'm chairman of the Irish Stadium Communities Association, and that association was set up and is actually registered in Belfast to help deal with the problems that communities have been having with stadiums, particularly GAA stadiums, because as an amateur association they tend to operate professionally to try and make as much money as they can. And when it comes to dealing with the local stadium communities, they try to say, well, we're an amateur association, don't expect us to have to be too responsible, you could nearly say. In any event, as I said, the Stadium Communities Association got set up because we have a problem in 3 different cities. We have problems at Páirc Uí Chaoimh residents, we have the Croke Park residents, and we have now the Casement Park residents. Surprisingly, our biggest trouble is coming from GAA stadiums, and when you consider the origins of the GAA, the GAA was set up after the famine and after the Young Irelanders' failings, to try and strengthen the communities and to stand up to landlordism. We all remember one of the first patrons of the GAA was Michael Davitt, the great land activist, and it was to give spirit to our community, to not allow them to be abused as they were by landlords, etc. at the time. Isn't it amazing that we have now seemed to have gone full circle, and we have the very GAA, but this time in the corporate GAA, abusing our communities, locking down our communities, especially as you'll see in Dublin, and many of you may be aware of the problems emanating from the Garth Brooks concerts, where they were talking to lock us down for 5 days in a row. And that means you cannot get in or out of your house prior to, a couple of hours prior to and a couple of hours after a concert. This is an unbelievable imposition, and it's hard to believe that this imposition is being made by the very GAA that was set up to stand by communities. Now, it's very important to realise as well that in the stadium communities we do differentiate between the corporate GAA and the ordinary GAA, the grassroots GAA, that are the life and soul of many communities all over the country. That's volunteerism, and that's the true GAA. It's not the GAA where these guys sit in their ivory towers in the cities and decide how much money they can make while paying themselves 6-figure salaries. And that's why the Irish Stadium Communities Association is now a very important lobbying group, and why they will be needed by people in Belfast, the people in Dublin, and the people in Cork. And it should also be mentioned that many of our members, in fact most of our members, are GAA people themselves, and we feel that fair treatment for stadium communities is just as important as putting hurleys and slitters in people's hand. The GAA is, after all, a community organisation, and if it cannot look after its own, charity begins at home. If it cannot look after the communities around them and cannot operate with some sort of empathy with those communities, well then it has actually gone away from its traditional values. And don't be assured that if you allow the GAA to operate the way they have been operating in Dublin and locking down communities, your houses will go down in value. I could have taken a member from your Casement Action Group today with me and show him some of the for sale signs in some of the finest houses that we have in Dublin. It's just that those houses are located around the Croke Park area. And these houses are for sale, fine, nearly Georgian houses, some of them, being sold into units of flats and apartments. And you're going to end up, instead of having a professional family that adds to the community, or a middle class family even, that adds to the community, has purchasing power for the local shops, those people flee, they get out of the area. And it's not just the lockdown area around the community that's affected. The wider area, you can take an area of at least around 1 mile to 2 miles that is greatly affected, even just from a parking point of view. You could go out to get a message and come back and you find that you've nowhere to park. There are lots of difficulties arising from stadium issues. And I know in the case of West Belfast, you have your stadium is basically cut off by the major dual carriageway, motorway, and it's just totally unsuitable to have a huge amount of people sort of locked into a small area like that. It will create huge problems, and those problems then are going to be reflected in your quality of life going down, the value of your houses in Dublin up to 30 and 40,000 has been knocked off the value of homes. So the stadiums themselves are a huge imposition. And one has to look at the numbers that should be allowed into stadiums. For instance, in Twickenham in England, while 82,000 people can be at a rugby match, they do not allow more than 55,000 people at a concert. And they also limit the number of concerts. For instance, Arsenal can only have 3 a year, and yet the GA down here in Dublin are looking for 8 or 9 a year. They'll do the same in Cork, and they'll do the same up in Belfast, unless somebody stands up, unless ye the people stand up for yourselves. So I look forward to having the Casement Action Group as members. We have the Casement Social Club, who did a great job standing up for themselves, and the Morand and the Action Morand of Owenvarrow residents have done a phenomenal job standing up for themselves. And we wish you all the very best, and let's fight together and stand up for our rights as stadium communities. Thank you. Is that okay?
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think, I'm not sure, I can ask a few questions. I don't know what sort of question I would maybe, do you think it's anything we missed there about it, or?
No, the other thing you can do is, like, I could do another little piece on what goes on in the, you know, in terms of the inconveniences. Give a few indications of. I mean, you know, like the likes of your man peeing in the fucking woman's letterbox.
Oh yeah, but those are examples.
You know, those type of things that people wouldn't realise that goes on.
Well, we'll do another, I could do another clip, and I get to call this one, you know, you see what we put on with the, on the front of the website.
Well, we could even do two together if you want.
Yeah, but see what we put
together to give it a bit of variety.
Yeah, but see the one that we done there, we said was down the side. See, I could put another clip on. See what we said there on the.
Or just get involved, sit in yourself and ask the questions that you're. So that you'll be on the video, because your accent will be more understandable.
Yeah, okay. But see, impact on community.
Yeah.
See there, I could put a couple of. I could put these clips. One clip's a different part, you know. And I could do impact on community. I just like to say something on the impact, the real impact on your community. This is coming your way. You know, so we can maybe do that one. Just say this is the impact. Just think of things in your head, the impact on the community, and don't be thinking that it's only within the periphery of the stadium. You're talking about up to 3, maybe 2 million, 3 million.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, people outside of the lockdown areas actually have more problems than the people inside. Because there's at least there's a reasonable guard presence inside the area.
Yeah, that's exactly. But
they push all the parking outside of the area, and which creates major problems outside the area.
See that area? We push that area as far as the stadium's in here, but we know that it'll go down as far as Beachmount or further, right down. You know, at least maybe 2 miles. And 2 miles in every direction.
Yeah, but if the two of you were talking about the impacts, there's no need for me to really add to that.
No.
Because I've done the kind of corporate stadium things.
But what I'll do is I'll put this.
So the two of you could be chatting about the impacts, and you could add, and this will happen us down in Beachmount, and you could add the relevant stuff, you know. Or even I could say, lads, the two of you, would you like to talk on the impact that has? That you people will have.
The important part is to keep it
simple. Yeah, you can do that. You can edit it. Stephen will edit.
But the other thing is keeping this steady. I can't move it about, because you move it, then you're all over the place. The whole important bit is sitting there.
No, what I'll do is I'll give a few examples of what happens to people when the lockdowns are on.
Exactly. You know.
And then all that.
Well, should the two of you sit there, because you could say what's going to happen in Belfast, or do you just want to leave it?
I'll sit away. I'll tell you what I'll get away. I'll tell you what to do.
Or let's just do us, and then you do your own in Belfast.
What I could do is I'll sit back where I was originally.
You sit back where you were.
Yeah. He doesn't have to be. You don't have to be sitting with him to.
Yeah. Well, I'll do. I can sort of shoot from here.
Yeah.
No, move a bit more that way.
Because you can always say to somebody in Belfast, well, you've heard there what Vinny and Eamon had to say, and then talk to someone else.
If you come a little bit closer. A little bit closer. Yeah, I think that's better there, and hopefully everybody can, I'll just give a couple of seconds now. What I'll maybe just say is, I'll just say, then I'd like to ask you about the impact. What would you think of the serious impacts for the community? I'll sort of talk first of all, and then, you know, you can hopefully it'll pick me up. No, I'll just give it.